I think we forgot to mention one of the best performances of Joker, and that's Tommy Wiseau.
Oh yeah,
Tommy Wiseau.
That is amazing.
Tommy Wiseau, best Joker.
Yeah, straight in the movie vault, guys. No question about it.
Let the good times roll.
Well, good movies.
Yes, this is Well Good Movies, the podcast that gives you the topics worth discussing and the films worth watching. I'm David Osger, your host, and if you couldn't tell by that intro music, then today we have an entire episode dedicated to the clown prince of crime, the Joker, in honor of the new Todd Phillips movie, Joker. So, of course, to go through things like why is he so iconic, the incarnations of the Joker, and what we will call the creations of Joker, you know, other medias that, you know, and characters that he's created. I've assembled some Joker experts with me. So I've just gone through the local sort of mental asylum. So our very own master of the endgame, our very own Riddler, it is Craig MacDonald.
Hello.
Hello, Craig. How are you today?
I'm good, although not sure how I feel coming out of a mental asylum, apparently.
Maybe it's just the other two guests.
Good save.
We'll see. So also with us, we have a reviewer for our very own website, Fresh Take, and content creator, director, actor. He tackles reviews like Jason Todd tackles crimes. It is Kyle Thomas.
What's up? I was waiting for you to keep going. I was enjoying the list.
Yeah. I was like, one of many talents.
Yeah, definitely worth the asylum comment then.
Yeah. You liked my little Jason Todd.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You could bring in the Rambo review of being like, deals out justice fairly. It's just like, yeah, well.
No, we're not going to get into Rambo, otherwise it's going to become a Trump campaign.
Yeah. And also with us is a fellow podcaster of the Film 7 podcast, Jake Hart.
How's it going, guys?
How are you? Now, so like I said, I linked everyone to characters. When I asked Jake about his most relatable character, his was Two-Face. So I'm just going to put that warning out there now, guys, in the podcast. If you get a bit of back and forth.
I mean, I thought we were still in the asylum.
It's all a figment of your imaginations. So like I said, today we'll be talking about why is the Joker so iconic. Obviously touching on the brand new Todd Phillips film, talking about some of the themes and the controversy that's coming from that, and why, you know, Joker throughout the years has sort of pulled in so many fans and audiences. We'll be talking about the incarnations of Joker, what our favourite takes on the Joker, and the different changes he's gone through, as well as what we sort of titled Joker's Creations, which is then the characters and the mad storylines that stem from the Joker. So obviously Harley Quinn is quite relevant at the moment. The Birds of Prey trailer just having been released. So yeah, I feel a bit like Batman, who I've assembled.
Mate, you're not Batman. If anything, you're more like the Penny Plunderer.
I don't even know who that is.
So you know the large coin that is kept in the Batcave that everyone says is taken from Two-Face?
Oh, right.
He's the villain who it actually belonged to, but was so bad was discontinued.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe he's more like cancelled Nick Fury.
So even further down the chain than Condiment King, like we speculated before.
Oh yeah, I dug deep for you, David.
That's a deep cut, that one.
That's what I do.
But first of all, before we go into our main topic today, we just want to recap last episode where we were talking about Steven Spielberg films. So we were talking a bit about why he's so influential, and similar with the Joker, you know, going through the different decades of Spielberg, etc. So we asked everyone at home and on our social media, what do you think it is about Spielberg? Is he the most influential filmmaker of the last few decades? With the options being yes, he eats all competition, with a picture of Jaws, and maybe a few years ago with a picture of Indiana Jones saying that belongs in a museum. So it was 61% to that belongs in a museum, and 39% to he eats all competition. So apparently a lot more iconic and influential filmmakers out there than Spielberg these days. Kind of felt a bit bad. I felt bad putting that picture of that belongs in a museum, but then have people vote for it as well. I was like, oh, poor Spielberg. What do you guys think of those results?
I mean, the man's definitely changed some of the landscape of filmmaking. He's definitely good at what he does. But in a world where like most big names are now coming from the franchise players and the people that can do things really well with big franchise topics like Endgame and stuff like that, I think the not so much smaller, but like different sort of directors that aren't handling big budgeted franchise probably won't get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was actually surprised with the actual result. I thought it favoured more in the museum than I thought it was going to. I actually voted that he is still influential. I think maybe he's not the hottest topic right now, but I think in terms of influence, even the best directors now, they'll tell you he's one of my main influences. I still think you can see that in a lot of the modern films.
Yeah, I think so. Like that's what I find interesting is that you see a lot of filmmakers who will cite Jaws and those kind of films as, you know, their influence. But I think if you're talking about his influence today, that's where the question can be a bit split.
Yeah, I think he's so intrinsically linked to people's childhoods. I think that's where a lot of people would take that perception, right? So they know a lot more of his films back from that sort of era as opposed to now, right? So I know that was a theme in the episode, that one of my favourite films of his is one of his more recent ones, and conversation around it was where it was starting to sort of run dry a little bit because not many people had seen things they're like more recent, and even then some of the more recent ones are not necessarily talked about, like the BFG. Not many people really do talk about, right?
Yeah, and Ready Player One as well.
Yeah,
the problem I had with Ready Player One was more to do with the book adaptation, because anyone that reads a good book knows that nothing can compare to your own imagination. And while Spielberg, I definitely thought, was the man to tackle it, there was a lot of stuff that I thought was a strange decision to make. And I mean, I bet it was an uphill battle trying to get all the licensing. So
that's the main problem I had with that film. It just felt like a fan fiction film, you know, like, or a fan service film, more like, I should say that. It just relied too much on nostalgia for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've had like lots of problems with it, ranging from the fact that when you actually get down to the actual stakes of the film, it did not seem that high, which is always really a problem with virtual reality in a sense.
Yeah, I think when you look at his more recent films as well, it's a case of he's not so much creating stories anymore, like with E.T., etc. He's more just, you know, oh, we want to make Ready Player One, and they approach Spielberg and he takes it on. So I think when you become that director who then just starts taking on projects because they're probably having like 10 or 20 different offers throughout the year, you don't become then that sort of auto filmmaker, which maybe you can say the sort of modern equivalent is like Christopher Nolan, where obviously something like Inception or Interstellar is like an original work of his, whereas Spielberg would have done that with the likes of, you know, E.T. and, you know, even though Jaws and those kind of films are based off books, they still feel quite original.
you can sort of argue the same for Tim Burton as well. Like the projects that he takes on now, you can sort of just, it doesn't feel like there's love in it.
No.
Like the older stuff, when they were doing what they loved and the ideas that they like,
Yeah.
it's not there anymore. I'm not necessarily saying it's the same for Spielberg, but you can definitely tell when a project is just out there for money rather than the passion.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, well, thanks, guys. Interesting results from that. And what'll be interesting today is, like I said, going from like a filmmaker, we'll be talking about a character. So it'll be like really interesting to see, you know, how that differs. We've all seen Joker. Like I said, if you want to check out our review of it, it's on Fresh Take at the moment, written by Craig. Also, I think yourself, Jake, you've got...
on
Film
the
7.
Film 7 podcast channel, we've got our spoiler review up.
Yeah. So lots of places to check out our thoughts and opinions on it. But like I said, this will be sort of like a general topic about like why the Joker is such an iconic character. To you guys, like I said, you know, obviously we brought you on today. Like Jake, you said, you know, you're very much a comic book fan, and also very much into like DC, the Joker. Same with yourself, Kyle. And the interesting thing I found with both of you is as well, you got Joker tattoos. So Kyle, you've got the Killing Joke.
Yeah, I went for Killing Joke over than a particular actor purely because I felt like the source material is always going to be...
Yeah.
You can rely on it more so than maybe a performance.
Yeah. But on the other side of things, Jake's there.
I've got Heath.
Yeah. So, like, what better people to have than to these two right here? So, you know, what is it you think in your mind, you know, like I said, without obviously it's a big topic at the moment about violence and, you know, what we should be seeing in the cinema and all that kind of stuff. But even taking yourself outside of that, you know, what do you think is the appeal of this character and what makes him so iconic?
I mean, for me, as a director and being an actor, like being so rooted in the performance, it's a topic and a character that you can sink your teeth into. There's so many different ways and so many subtle nuances and things that you can look into, because the man is unstable, but there's also, while unstable, there's sanity to it with the mastermind side of things, and there's just so much room to play, and it's the proverbial Pandora's box of a character, really. There's so many things and ways you can go with it, that's what I find so appealing about the character.
Yeah, very, very similar to you. I like how unpredictable he is. I think for especially comic fans, when you read these stories for over 80 years, it can get quite stale. But with the Joker, it just, well, when a good writer is behind him anyway, they just reinvent the character in ways we haven't seen before. I think he's one of the few characters you can do that with, because when you veer away from core characteristics, sometimes fans can get upset. I think Joker is one of those few exceptions where they are willing to let you take different risks because he's crazy. Like one of my favorite Batman runs was done by Grant Morrison, and I loved his theory on the Joker that he's so insane that he rewrites his personality. And then, 1 week you'll be reading a comic, you're like, why is the Joker so different? And he's like, that's because he's just rewritten his personality because he's that crazy.
Yeah, so that goes into the theory about the idea that he knows that he's a comic, he's so insane he knows that he's in a comic book universe. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why he has so little empathy, because there's no consequences for those around him. So yeah, no, I definitely buy into that.
And it's also, like I said, an aspect that actors will bring into their performance. So like Mark Hamill, famously will say that, he has different Joker laughs. And if somebody says, like what made you decide on this one Joker laugh, or, do a Joker laugh, he says, well, it depends on the mood. It depends on the episode he's in, and I think that's always been like a real staple to his take on the character as well, is that he can have so many varying degrees of, Joker is sad in this and Joker's happy in this, but it's always going to be a maniacal laugh. I think one of the episodes he sort of cites is the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy sort of one, because like Joker sort of played down in that sort of episode, so he's going to be very different in there. And yeah, and that's what, like you said, he's a very adaptable character as well, which we'll see as well in the incarnations. Is that it's surprising how many different versions, that even though you look visually at them and they're quite similar, they are quite drastic changes in some of the versions that you do see. What do you think is like the appeal personally from people, in terms of like, why do they gravitate to that character so much? Because obviously, like a lot of people are saying with this film, well, you shouldn't support the psycho and you shouldn't sympathize with somebody who's mentally insane and you shouldn't support, gun violence and all that kind of stuff. What are your guys' takes on that?
I mean, I think the Joker, basically, and much like the film Joker does, is he's a character that in a way holds the mirror up to us and shows us what I think we're all capable of if we go down the wrong path. And I think that's what makes him so interesting for us as humans, to think that, oh no, we could be capable of going down this dark path. But then you have on the opposite spectrum Batman. I think what makes him so powerful is that because he's got that yin and yang with Batman, they are effectively two sides of the same coin. And I think that's what people really appreciate about this character.
Yeah.
For me, I think that people, much like what you just said, are drawn to what they can relate to. I also think there's something, it's strange to say, but like modern day horror isn't what it used to be. So the feeling of being so unsettled by a man that just has a medically cleared laugh, and seeing, like, there's an appeal to it because people are like, there's a stigma around the Joker that each performance is going to be as wild as the last one, wilder than the last one. You have to be method to do it. There's a big element of what's going to happen. There's intrigue, but at the same time, I don't think people don't really think about the morality of it. That's what I like to think anyway. But like, there's always going to be a handful of people that are questioning the morality. but for the large majority, we understand that he's a villain. We understand that he might have had a tragic backstory, but it's also an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because you don't get many films or performances that you question everything that you see.
Yeah.
And that is really cool.
Yeah, I think it is that fundamental lack of understanding I think a lot of people are drawn to as well, because so many people basically pride themselves on trying to, unravel the mysteries of everything around them. And it's one of those things that, especially with a character as complex as the Joker, trying to understand exactly where he comes from, why he does what he does, is something that I think people are trying to, rack their head around a lot. I think that's one of the reasons why Killing Jokers has been so popular as it was in the past, because, it tries to offer that like one direct origin route for the character, and even then he just undermines it himself by saying, if I have to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice, even to the point that he doesn't understand his own past. And just, I think it's just one of those things that like people are drawn to that sort of mystery, right? Because you have a lot of the sort of internet discussions and that general chatter about, oh, do you think it means this thing? And yeah, people are just obsessed with that.
There's a lot of mystery to it, but at the same time, it's not like the kind of mystery where people will go, oh man, I desperately need this answer. There's enough there that people can go, okay, I get it.
If anything, they enjoy not knowing, right? So, because going back to what you were saying earlier about the idea of like the unpredictability and the essential chaotic nature of the character, it means in some ways his actions are both like fully understandable and completely unknowable, and has no ability to understand it whatsoever.
The fact that they did have an origin story with this, obviously, I think was maybe a bit of like where some people were quite concerned with the new Joker film. And that's an aspect that's worked for the character quite well in the past, is that, you don't know where he comes from, or, you don't know all that much about him. And it sort of adds that mystery to the character, which a lot of the times works better for a lot of films. People say, oh, I don't want a prequel to that film. I don't want to know his origins, because that's what makes that character great, is that we don't know where he came from. But that's why I love then seeing the Joker, is that, you come away from it still going, well, he was adopted. So, spoiler alert. So you still don't really know where he comes from. He's given a name in that film. But again, that name was just given to him by the person who adopted him. So again, we don't know where he's come from.
Also, is he necessarily the Joker? Because obviously going back to the unreliable narrator aspect.
I think it was Todd Phillips who confirmed that he said this is not the Joker.
Yeah.
I think he came out and said that recently. I might be wrong, but I think I read that somewhere.
I think it's interesting if you look at it based on just the age alone of Arthur.
Yeah.
By the time Bruce becomes Batman, he's going to be too old. So it's almost like saying like every generation's going to have its incarnation of the Joker.
Yeah.
He's always will.
Which that theme was sort of played out in, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the Gotham TV series.
Yeah.
Where the guy who we thought was Joker, spoiler alert, ends up dying, but the whole point is that he's a sort of message to the people of Gotham that there will always be another Joker.
Yeah, not to mention the fact, if you look at something, say, like the TV show Batman Beyond, where literally gangs rise up calling themselves the Jokers.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, because even, I think you could take it from two ways as well, that Todd Phillips can be so saying that, obviously this is an Elseworld story, so he's saying this is not the Joker, as in he's not treading on the ground of the main franchise, saying, oh, well, there will be the Joker, but this is a alternate take on the Joker. So there's that aspect as well. But yeah, I think, you're perfectly right as well in the fact that, yeah, he could inspire generations. And I think that's what's really interesting, is a lot of people have said, especially with, the sort of like riots and stuff you see in the film, a lot of people are starting to say, I really understand now why Batman never kills the Joker, or, why things, why crime is so rampant and stuff in Gotham. Because, like I said, once you understand that, the Joker is Gotham as well, so, he represents that so much. But also, I think that's what's appealing to a lot of people, is that idea of like, rising up and protesting, all that kind of stuff. And some people might see it as a bad thing, but we've had plenty of films like it before. Like some people might have been up in arms about V for Vendetta, which I know, like Craig, you would appreciate. But
it's funny because I was actually speaking about this with my friends yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said that if V for Vendetta came out today, I think it would get very similar reactions to the Joker.
Yeah, it's a similar thing. It's of that like rising up against the government, people feeling oppressed, and V is very much the same character. He goes around killing people and stuff, but again he's sort of like painted as this like godlike figure.
Yeah, but I think the difference in that situation is the historical background, right? So V for Vendetta has always been sort of anti-establishment, kill the sort of people who need to be killed, while Joker is just kill anyone who's around.
Oh yeah. I think I'm just saying it's the same appeal that brings people to the two medias. It's that idea of like, because the stuff that's in the Joker is very much like the fat cats controlling Gotham and they're opposed to Thomas Wayne. It's still that idea of like taking down the establishment, that kind of thing. But the characters themselves are very different.
I think it was interesting from my point of view. I didn't even necessarily think the film was all that violent.
No,
I think it had 3 distinct moments of over-the-top violence, but you've got to look at things like John Wick. That's like violence from the outset, and yet all of a sudden, because the people that are hurt and killed in Joker are done so in over-the-top brutal manners by a man that's unstable, it's seen as trying to say that unstable people, when given the wrong circumstance, will flip and plow a pair of scissors into your eyes.
But that's the thing. Like I wouldn't even say, apart from the one scene you just referenced, I wouldn't even say the other kills were that over the top.
No,
no, definitely not.
Because like they're basically just a couple of headshots, and I think most people think like, oh no, he got shot in the head, which means instantly die, which means it has to be horrendously more violent. Like, no.
I mean, this film, as we all know, is heavily inspired by Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver, I say, is way more violent than the Joker.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be quite a violent film. So I don't see what people have a problem with now.
I saw this picture, which was sort of using the Heath Ledger sort of moment where it says, you tell a story about a white guy who goes crazy and kills a bunch of people over a dog and no one bats an eye. Then you tell a story about a white guy who just goes crazy and kills a bunch of people and everyone loses their mind. So when you said about John Wick, I was just like, yeah, that's very, very true. So
it's okay if you make a living off of killing people, but if you do it so for a righteous act, oh no.
Yeah, but I think it's important.
Or even in the first situation, self-defense.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's interesting is, like I said, nobody's condoning. I think what you said, Kyle, is exactly right, is that this shows what somebody can do when they're flipped and when they are unhinged. Nobody's saying that this is glorifying violence.
Oh no, there are idiots online. I'm sorry.
I mean, nobody here.
Oh, none of us, obviously. But there are idiots online who says this is glorifying violence, in which case I'm just like, have you watched the film?
Yeah, and the same with glorifying mental illness and stuff like that.
Obviously not.
There was this great thing I saw on Twitter, and there was this one person that was like, oh, I'm not going to see Joker because it's you're looking at mental illness in the wrong light, sort of thing. And then everyone in the comments and tweeting her going, you were praising The Punisher for the way it handled PTSD.
Yeah.
Was that Hector Navarro?
I'm not sure.
I saw that tweet, yeah.
But if it's like you're not showing mental health in the right light, what? The light being if you cut services for mental health and stop giving people the treatment they need, then bad things will happen?
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty good light for me to look at.
Yeah. I mean, in that scene when he says, well, how do I get my drugs now?
Yeah.
And she's basically like, well, sorry, we can't help you.
One of my favorite moments is actually and again, it's the same sort of like logic as that picture where he says, oh, you need to pay that guy back for his sign. And when like he just says like, why would I steal a going out of business sign? And like, but it's exactly true. If anybody, if somebody else did that, if like so, somebody who's successful or good looking or something, they would just be like, oh, they say, oh, and they would laugh it off. And it's like the Joker says at that end of that film, he's just like, you're making fun of me. And again, I think for most people, they are siding with the fact of like, we can understand why he's so hinged and why he's turned into this character. They're not so much like condoning his actions, but they're understanding why he's become like that.
Yeah, especially considering the rest of the film does a pretty good job at establishing that these are the circumstances which are not just pushing like Fleck, but pushing literally everyone, right? You see like more and more trash rising across the city. You even see loads of rats running across shots from time to time.
And the film just gets darker in the lighting and everything as we get closer to the end of the film as well.
It's funny when you said it, you see more trash. It was just like, you talking about people? But
both.
I saw this really interesting interview with Todd Phillips, and he breaks down the opening scenes of Joker, and I never noticed it until he pointed it out. But once he's been hit over the head with the sign and he's laying there in the street, he turns over to his side and he presses his chest, and a little bit of water squirts out of the flower on his chest.
I saw that, yeah.
And it just solidifies how the character is, and I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, there's so many subtle things in that film. I think it's interesting as well. So, we're talking about, why is he so iconic, etc. So I think on the fact of the controversies, it's interesting to see about like some of the reactions. Like I said, you do have like all these people who would just take it far, too far. But on a sort of like critical level, obviously a big conversation will be, will it be nominated for an Oscar and that kind of stuff? And there have been critics who've been very, divided on it. Like we said on the way here, you got somebody like Michael Moore or Josh Brolin who love it. But then you got, one of the critics for The Guardian who, give it quite a bad review. So I think like the Hollywood Reporter has done sort of asked like some of the people who are part of the Academy their thoughts. And I think it's interesting to see like what your guys' sort of reactions are based on what their problems are with it. So
that
they haven't
sound
said a
good.
name, so male member of executive branch.
AKA any of them.
My son, who is 21, liked the movie, and I'm sure at his age that might make some sense. But if you look at the beginning of that movie, Fleck gets his board stolen and then he gets beat up, so you feel sorry for him. Then you find out he's got mental issues, so you feel sorry for him. And then he's given a gun and uses it. And so you got this crazy guy goes on a crime spree, and you're supposed to like him, even though he's stabbing and shooting people, and the way he acts with kids leaves a lot to be desired. To me, that kind of gratuitous violence sends a very strange message. It's going to make a lot of money, so if you're running a studio, you're supposed to make that movie, but is it responsible? I was once confronted with the same question, and I decided not to make that movie, and the movie got made and made a lot of money anyway.
I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, it does. It does represent, I think when I was watching it, I had a similar thought of when he was killing those men on the train. I thought, well, yeah, okay, maybe I can see where these people come from, but let's see where they lead it. Are they going to go down this sort of like glorifying him angle? And once they clearly didn't, I was like, no, it's fine. But yeah, it is crazy how that guy then didn't seem to watch the rest of the film.
I think what's crazy is the fact that you're not giving your 21-year-old son any credit.
Yeah.
And the fact that you think just because someone is being beat up, yeah, you can feel sorry for them, but then when they kill someone, you think you're going to keep supporting them. No, because if you're a normal person, morally, you understand that murder is wrong.
Yeah, what's that got to do with age? Like, because he
Yeah.
mentions my 20, I can understand why he would like it. Like, it's got nothing to do with age
There's
at all.
loads of ageism about where they literally believe that if you're an older member of something and you believe the younger member are just inherently animals, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But process.
It's also the idea that, younger generations enjoy more violent things a lot more. But like you said before, films which are quite old, like Taxi Driver, have a lot of violence in them. But even like Westerns and stuff can be really like...
I think it's just because we've had more violence than the previous generations due to stuff like video games and stuff like that.
And you said about there's not much violence in this. I think somebody else I saw review it, they were like, Deadpool's got more violence in it. And it's true.
way
It's
more.
Like, it definitely has more violence in it.
and they also go like
And but
way
it's
more
done
needlessly gratuitous.
I think what people like, why has everyone suddenly forgotten about behind the scenes stuff? And like, we understand their movies.
Yeah.
Like, it infuriates me how stupid some people think everyone is.
Yeah. But on the flip side, I saw the film last night at the Landmark with another Academy member. My stomach was still churning this morning. It made me uncomfortable from the very first frame to the last, but I thought the movie was extraordinary. I didn't read anything about it beforehand, so I thought I was going to get a sort of Batman. It's the most outstanding performance I've seen in many years. The way he moved everything, I mean, it's really... consummate actor, and there's not a frame he's not on camera to. What I don't understand is what everyone's all upset about. Just pick up the morning paper and see the assholes running our country if you want to worry about violence. It's still...
And thank God, the person I thought would speak sense has spoken sense.
It's still early, but I can certainly see myself...
This is why we need more of them in the Academy, for God's sake.
I can see myself nominating him for Best Picture, and he has to get nominated, or the Actors Branch doesn't know what it's doing. I think
Joaquin Phoenix is by far one of the strongest elements of that film.
Yeah, I mean, I personally feel he's got to get at least a nomination.
Yeah.
Like,
I honestly, I saw this thing, and apparently Marvel fans are trying to get the Oscar for RDJ in Endgame, and I just looked at it and went, over Joaquin, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's an incredible performance. Like, there's no other way to describe it, because any hardened actor would find it difficult to be able to portray a character that's not only unhinged and violent, but sympathetic and funny, because there are moments of comedy in it. It's insane that you give him the Oscar.
It's also the incredible weight Joaquin had on his shoulders, though.
Yeah.
10 years after The Dark Knight, there's still, and this is what I don't get, there's still so many people that are refusing to see this film because they're like, no, he's the only Joker for me. Like, nothing else. Like, well, you can't say that until you've actually seen the film.
No, and
yeah, come on, like, you're widowed, right? I think he expects you to see other Jokers.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you've got, what is it, like 2-3 years since we had our last Joker as well, it just, he's a very popular character. He's got lots of different incarnations, as we'll talk about. So the fact that, it's not so much Joker fatigue, as well. It's like, you could easily say, oh, we've had too much Joker, we've only just had the Joker. But it's like, well, no, like there's a hunger to have this character. And I think a lot of people after seeing this film would happily see more.
I find it hilarious that there's a very small subset of people who are upset that Jared Leto isn't making another Joker performance. And I'm like,
we'll get into that.
Are you nuts?
We'll get into that. But like, I think the bit that sort of like hits the nail on the head for me in that review as well is that she said, my stomach was churning the next day. I felt, very uncomfortable, but in all the right ways. Reviewers shouldn't come away from that and say, like, that's why I didn't like the film, because film is meant to challenge you and it's meant to make you think about things. And, this film is doing that more than anything. Which I think is really, really interesting.
I think it's really weird and sort of refreshing to literally have a movie that for the first time in ages, reviewers literally have to tell people, it's like, look, you've got to be in the right mindset to deal with this, because usually it's just a case of you watch it however you feel. But the fact that people are actually saying, no, this is a brilliant film, you've just got to be ready for some dark stuff.
And I agree with that. Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, I personally, man, like, as a depressive myself, like, I can sit down and watch like Trainspotting, and that like puts me in the worst kind of mood. But I sat through Joker twice within a 6-hour span and had the biggest smile on my face, and not because I'm crazy, but because it's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah,
exactly. You're just appreciating the craft of it. I thought you were actually going to say then, like, I just watched train crashes. I was like, wow, this is dark.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on the dark web every 5 minutes.
I'm not gonna lie. Literally, in order to get through writing the review, so that I didn't like force myself down, I literally had like various stand-up comedy routines playing in the background.
That's a solid way to do it.
When I was actually reading over the review, I was listening to it kind of is a bit eerie at the same time, but I was listening to the song from the trailer, and I think it's in the film, isn't it? Smile, which is the so like where we've talked, obviously, like said, about like how Joaquin Phoenix has made such a big effect on this film. Like said, it's he owns this sort of film. What do you think of the other incarnations of the Joker? So what stand out to you? We've talked about how he can be adaptive in different ways. Do you have like a standout one that you still go to, or is that what you love about the character? What do you think certain ones represent a different generation really, really clearly? What sort of stands out to you?
Yeah, 100%. I think he is definitely a character of the times. He's always been adapted to the current state of society, whether that be 66, 89 with Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, and so forth. I've loved pretty much all the incarnations, and the reason why I love them all is because they are so different. One of my friends asked me recently, he said, so who do you think was better, Joaquin or Heath? And I'm like, well, I can't actually compare, because I think both of them are brilliant. And they're both Joker, but they're both two different characters in my opinion. And I don't think it's something you can compare. Very much like Jack Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson's Joker, but that Joker only works in that film in the time it was released.
And that's what's interesting as well about the violence thing as well, is that even though maybe Heath Ledger's death sort of changed the conversation, but people are talking about the violence as well with this film. But, like Joker does some terrifying things in The Dark Knight, like the pencil trick thing.
He blows up a hospital.
How did I get
And literally like just deals with the technical like mishaps of the fact it didn't blow up properly with such a sinister eerie of just like, he was expecting this.
Being dressed up as a nurse alone is just, like a bit like creepy alone, but also like the change in the story of like, you know, how he got these scars, you know. So again, like, you know, we have seen this like dark, scary Joker before, and I think, you know, that's why he does stand out as well. But I think I agree with you, he's very much a different character. I see him maybe more so as like somebody I can actually imagine in Christopher Nolan's world as a real person who becomes the Joker, whereas I still think that in other incarnations of the character, he's very much a symbol or, you know, more mysterious character. But I think Heath Ledger's one is the one I can most imagine as an actual person becoming the Joker kind of thing.
For me, I think, like, first off, I'm going to give Leto some credit.
Okay.
Because I thought the look was really cool, for starters. I thought it was completely different, completely not what I was expecting at all. So fair play for the surprise. Secondly, my whole idea around Leto's Joker is that I needed more before I could make a solid opinion. It was blink and you'll miss it at best. And the things that he did do, okay, questionable, maybe. It's everyone's different taste, it comes down to. The only thing that I might have done differently is ADR his lines so that he wasn't choking on his grill.
Yeah.
But as for all the other incarnations, it's so hard just because you've nailed it perfectly when you said that, like, each one is so different, and that's what makes it amazing. It's like Ledger's one, of course, the anarchist, which fits the social times with Joaquin. We're talking about mental health more than ever in the public eye, and we're dealing with a character that is purely based around mental health. It's just it's fantastic how not every character in a movie or a superhero can translate so perfectly to a different time. Like even Batman Beyond, with, like, it was still Hamill, but they done the movie The Return of the Joker, and it fit in that time period. So you can do anything. He's like water. He'll fit to anything. He'll literally thrive in any situation. It's great. But for me, I don't want to be that person, but I honestly think Joker has just taken my number one spot just as a movie, because I can look at it, and I think the only thing I disagreed with was the choice of music when he came down the stairs in full clown makeup, and that was just because I thought the tone shift was a bit weird for me. But then I think that's also brilliant, because a jarring tone shift is what the character is. So it works, and I honestly can't think of anything negative to say about it. So I think Joaquin is my solid pick for Joker, but I don't think it's a revolving stare of different reasons.
Yeah. I think, I think definitely Jared Leto needed more time, and I think you're exactly right, is that, you know, we can tell you just from, like, preparing for this podcast, like, when I was trying to do the intro, I couldn't get, like, a single audio clip which wasn't, like, muffled by, like, music, Harley Quinn, or somebody else, like, you know, gunshots, other characters. You couldn't even hear his laugh properly at any point in that film. Like, even when there was a clear laugh.
I mean, the laugh was terrible. I agree with you in some sense. I think Leto had somewhat of a good performance. He just didn't have the time to thrive. Yeah. But the laugh just threw me off with that thing.
I think I think, again, you needed an entire film or a film about the Joker to make it work and understand that character. But you know, especially when you're going to go down this road of, like, the Joker is a proper gangster, and he's, like, you know, this sort of gritty, like, mob boss sort of guy.
Well, the clown prince of crime.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't do that in a film that then has got, like, 12 other villains. And what I really wanted in that film was to have the Joker be the villain. And, like, you know, and I think the director said that himself. He says, I look at it now and I see that should have happened.
My argument for that is literally, like, if you look at it, you established that Batman is in that world, and the one day there's a world-ending event he decides to vacate. Yeah. Where was he?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
if it was Joker,
that
is also true. But, like, if it was Joker, you could sort of believe that it was underground and, like, sort of thing. Yeah. As a side note as well, one thing I did want to say is I'm so happy that Joaquin didn't go method for this role, because with Heath and Leto, no disrespect or anything, but, like, it sort of set up the audience to think every actor needed to go method for the character. And the fact that we now have one of the most unsettling performances purely based on talent and alone an ability to act is fantastic.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, I did tire a bit of those who, like, you know, he was sending dead animals in as presents and stuff. I was like, you know, because it does become at some point a bit show-offy as well. You know, I wouldn't apply that at all to Heath Ledger, but, you know, I think with Jared Leto, and again, I wouldn't blame Jared Leto for it. It's part of it is the press where they're sort of like, oh, look how crazy he is. He was sending dead animals to the cast, but it's like, and then when you saw, like, I think I watched an interview last night, and there was the person who played Katana was like, oh, the first time I met him, he laughed in my face, and he was playing the character, and I was like, I'm kind of sick of this narrative.
Well,
now, you know?
I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine who's an actor, and he said to me, he was like, oh, can you help me prepare for an audition? I was like, sure. He was like, how, it's like a psychopath sort of role. He was like, how do I prepare for that? And I was like, what you need to understand is if you need to be this character, this person, this character, this entity will find these disturbing things funny, happy, whatever the reaction is. But it's not about what you think and what you react to. It's about what that character and that thing you are doing reacts to it. So it's understanding that it's not your sense and morality at line here, it's theirs, and I think a lot of people forget that.
Well, I think Joaquin did a very good job in that, because he says today that he still has conflicting issues and thoughts about the character he's played.
Like the way he saw it, like afterwards, he was like, oh, I'm not sure about how. Yeah, he wanted to sort of redo some of it, didn't he? But I think also it is important that you sort of like switch to it as well. Like the fact that you can watch Mark Hamill in an interview and then he just suddenly comes out with this voice, it adds to the character, because it is like meant to be that you've got this psycho inside you kind of thing. So if somebody who then, like Jared Leto, is playing him all the time everywhere he goes in public, well, you do lose that sort of like hidden psycho.
Well, yeah, because of the idea, if you don't want your audience to be sensitized to what you're doing, especially if you're playing, you know, the Joker, who literally whose major appeal is not on sensitizing the audience.
Yeah, I think also like where we were talking about like being applicable to the times. Even when I like watch the clips of Cesar Romero, like that's very much like applicable to that time. You know, it's a very like timely sort of like established actor, and you know, I love how you can see his like, mustache underneath the makeup. And even though it's partly because the show it's in is so camp, but it does speak to that time in which, like I said, villains and heroes were all that sort of larger than life sort of characters. And if you compare him to then sort of like Heath or
it's very pantomime, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they are completely different, but it represents that time frame.
But going on the painting over the mustache,
yeah,
I think that is so Joker.
Yeah,
you know, the fact that I've got a mustache, I'm not going to shave it off.
Yeah.
I'll just paint over it, and the paint looks awful, so you can see the mustache.
Yeah.
But it's like playing on the joke.
That's what I didn't like so much as well with the Jared Leto one, is I didn't get the sort of like marker smile.
Yeah, that was a strange moment as well.
Especially when they give him the hand smile as well.
I like the hand smile.
I like the hand smile, but I think if you're going to do it, you pick one or the other.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much.
Well, the theory was that after, because in that continuity, Batman's been Batman for 20 years.
Yeah.
He broke his
then
face.
he's over 20 years he's broken all his teeth.
Yeah.
So he's ashamed to smile with his face, so that's why he has the hand.
And you had the suit. Was it in
the Ha Robin suit?
Yeah.
Was
that in Batman
jokes
v
on
Superman?
that was a BVS. Yeah.
So again, you see all these things. You're like, be great if we could see that, but you don't get any of that. But yeah, like I said, that's clearly a problem.
I just think, like, based on what you just said, I think it's interesting. Like, would the Joker be ashamed of his smile?
Well, that's what people behind the movie have said. So
Which is weird, considering this is a character who in the past has cut off his own face.
Yeah. I think it so adds to him that he knows that the smile is like a part of his like terror, so he would then sort of get the grill or whatever.
I just think like when you start like looking at like the tiny details and applying logic, that's when it loses its touch. Because if you like, I'm going to sit here for a solid 12-hour tattoo session and get it just doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah. That's what I found distracting with it as well. I didn't mind so much the like gangster side of it, but again, to have like the things like literally on his like head and face, that's where I thought I don't know, it was a bit
too on the nose for me.
It's just over designed.
Yeah.
But what about for yourself, Craig, like in terms of standouts?
I mean, realistically,
and bear in mind, Craig dressed as the Heath Ledger Joker for a charity day actually as well.
Yeah, but you guys kept telling me I was more Jack Nicholson just in a Heath Ledger suit. So I'm not sure how much I really pulled that off. For me, I completely agree with both you guys insofar as like having to nail down like an individual performance to say that like that's your definitive Joker, I think is a very hard thing to do. Luckily, we do have one actor who's done the role in several different variations, so it makes my life a bit easier. I probably am a bit of a Mark Hamill fan, if I'm honest. It's just because of what David was saying earlier, the fact that he does everything he can to literally adapt every single laugh to like every nuanced element of personality, and also just the fact that he has been in so many mediums, right? So the fact that one of the reasons I was willing to give The Killing Joke as much attention as I did was just because Mark Hamill was returning to the role, and just hearing him speak some of the like really iconic dialogue was just going to be something that, even if the movie wasn't going to be great overall, which arguable, just hearing that dialogue and just being able to listen to some of those clips over and over again is just still an absolute treat. But then you obviously get to contrast it against something like, say, the animated series, where they do give him a bit more of that like goofy element edge and take away some of the like overly sinister tones of his. Like I watched this afternoon the clip where he's trying to copyright fish.
I love that episode.
It's so good.
I think as well, when like I'm the same. Like to me, I think part of it is nostalgia. Like I said in the last episode, Dustin Hoffman to me is Hook, because it's so embedded in my childhood with the film Hook. And it's the same with Mark Hamill. Like when I think of the Joker, when I think of the laugh, I think of his laugh. And I think where it benefits as well is the fact that it is animation. You can do anything in animation. You know, an actor can like grin as much as they want, and they can do whatever maybe in CGI, but you can never like change that image of the Joker from like Mask of the Phantasm, where he's just literally there looking over that guy with like just the biggest yellow grin, which you can only pull off in 2D animation. So, and like I said, it's just that like sort of playfulness he has, and the sort of like sadistic side. He works on so many levels, and I also love like when Mark Hamill talks about his favorite Joker speech, which is the eulogy he has for Batman. Have you seen that clip where he does that live at, I think it's a celebration, one of the Star Wars celebrations? He performs the Batman eulogy where some man thinks that he's killed Batman, and Joker just goes on a rant about, thinks that he, you know, like, this stunted sly or whoever took that away from me. And I just love how it shows the same thing with Batman needs the Joker and Joker needs him. So, you know, how much he sort of clings to him as a character. And actually is an element of which works so well in Zach Galifianakis' performance in Lego Batman. It goes off the same thing of we need each other, and that's why I find that quite
Well,
funny.
that harkens back to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns in 1986, where I think, as far as I'm aware anyway, I think that was the first time we were sort of introduced that the Joker's in love with Batman.
Right.
I mean, the final confrontation takes place in a ton of love, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, that's...
Well, yeah, so literally some of the dialogue is, this is it, isn't it? The moment we've both been dreaming about.
Exactly, yeah.
And also the fact that in that continuity, the Joker is literally catatonic for years when Batman's gone away, and the moment that people start speaking his name, he's like, Batman.
And then he
darling.
he has a reason to live.
Yeah.
Basically. And at the final confrontation of that, he plays the ultimate joke on Batman, where he pushes Batman to the ultimate point where he doesn't kill him, but he breaks his neck and leaves him paralyzed, and then Joker finishes the job off, making people think Batman killed Joker.
I think we forgot to mention one of the best performances of Joker, and that's Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Wiseau.
That is amazing. I forgot about that.
Where is the
it
Batman?
Is it actually true he wanted to apply for the role?
I will be surprised.
Obviously he would have.
If you've seen Disaster Artist, I wouldn't be surprised at all if like the things he tries to pull off.
Nothing surprises me about that man anymore.
I forgot about that.
Have you ever danced with the devil?
I need to watch that video when I get home now. It is.
I'm really sad now I didn't include it in the end game.
Yeah. It's an amazing. Yeah, like you said, just that screen.
Tommy Wiseau, best Joker.
Yeah, straight in the movie vault, guys. No question about it. Quickly before we get on to like the other aspects of him, I think we mentioned most of the major ones. So Jack Nicholson, where do people come down on him?
I like him.
I enjoy him.
I like him a lot. He's very 80s type of character. He's very Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, and that's why I think.
Do you know what I mean? And I think the film Batman, 1989, really, I say is more of a Joker film than a Batman film.
Yeah, it is.
He pretty much takes the spotlight, and I do like his interpretation. I don't think it would work now.
No.
But for its time, it's great, yeah.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
I'm glad you're dead.
That's why it's interesting, because lots of people like to draw parallels between both Batman and The Dark Knight, where they say that we know lots about the Joker in that film, but not much about Batman. And then obviously the reverse in Dark Knight, where we know little about the Joker and lots about Batman. And that's where it just affects a lot of people's interpretation as well.
Yeah.
Insofar as like why they like it. So
I would say the main thing for me though about Nicholson that I don't like, and I get why they did it in the film, is the fact he was responsible for the Wayne murders.
I was going to say that about
like literally responsible, not like in Joker where he's metaphorically responsible. Here he was literally responsible. I didn't quite like the decision.
I didn't like that as well, and like I said, it takes away from that mysterious aspect of the character, which again, and it makes it too on the nose of like, I hate this character because he killed my parents, and it does rob, because I revisited the film in preparation for this, and it robs a lot of the emotion from some of the parts in the film, because when he's like looking at him, but when he's escaping, and when he's like looking him down, when he's fighting him, you saw again the wrong feelings of like, he shouldn't be looking at him like, you killed my dad. That works in Civil War when Robert Downey Jr. is looking at Bucky, but you shouldn't be feeling that when Batman's looking at Joker, because Batman decides to become Batman for justice and to sort of like protect the people. He doesn't become Batman because he's got a vendetta against a certain character. Exactly. So
I think what makes his story so compelling is the fact that it was done by a random mugger.
Yeah, and it's kind of telling about like the way the films have changed though. Hollywood, like that's very much from that era of like, oh, we need to simplify it for the audience and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of timely in that way. So what are your guys' thoughts on like the sort of, byproducts of Joker? We've obviously got Harley Quinn coming out with essentially a Harley Quinn film, but is titled Birds of Prey. Which again is, you can see loads of elements of like what works about the Joker character. And actually I thought the Birds of Prey trailer actually played a lot like the Joker trailer, with the sort of like classic music and stuff like that. So what do you guys think about like why those other characters and the other byproducts of the Joker have become so successful?
I think part of the reason for it is because no matter what he touches, there's a mark left behind. And no matter how long they go away for and how far they get, there's always trauma. There's always the past. And as hard as they try to push him away, he's still there. And it has its effects in so many profound ways. Like Harley going from just a normal person to falling down the rabbit hole, to Batman constantly worrying about what sort of beyond a sort of thing will happen next, or like even just the unpredictability of it for like other people that interact with him is just an interesting thing. Like but one of the things that's kind of annoyed me about the Birds of Prey trailer is I know they've gone, oh, me and Mr. J have broke up. I think you've shot yourself in the foot there, purely because you've set up Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad to be over the top infatuated with her, so much so that he breaks her out of prison, and we're supposed to believe he's not going to come looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even if I pitched this really cool idea, like I thought was cool for myself, is like if all the people in it lose the fight against Black Mask and he's got the upper hand, and right before he's about to do something, he gets shot or like taken off screen, and you just hear a laugh, and it just ends with Harley just going, ah, and that's it. Like just something as simple as that, like a little reference or something.
Yeah, and I think that also adds, it takes away from what happened, like you said, we broke up, because it takes away from the psychological part of that relationship. Like me and Craig always go on about it, about people misreading their relationship with Suicide
Squad. Oh, please
let
me rant about this.
I will now.
Tell me when.
But yeah, the fact,
I know what you're going to say.
The fact that the trailer for the film also robs it from that chance. You don't then get the chance to then go through that like torture and that like abusive side of their relationship, because she's then gone, oh, well, I've just walked away from it, and yeah, he was a jerk. And
well, that's the
like,
thing. If you can walk
me.
away from that, you can walk back to sanity. So why are you still where you're at?
And it paints the Joker that he would be the kind of person, like you said, who is infatuated with her, when it's not. It's a very different relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Go Craig.
Okay. So David and I have what I would describe as a once-a-week conversation about some stupid teenage girl who has posted one of those memes which is like, oh, love is finding someone who's as insane as you, and it's a picture of Joker and Harley. And I'm just like, no!
You're missing the point.
Stop buying into toxic relationships. And the problem is as well, the image that they use constantly is the one of Joker and Harley from Suicide Squad. So in a way, it makes me hate the fact that relationship was less toxic. Yeah. Because it's then being used as like an absolute role model, to the point that loads of people are seeking out this idea. And I'm just like, if you find the wrong people who look at like the Harley Joker relationship in a different way, you're going to be in for some dangerous stuff, and that's not a situation you should be in that situation.
Not healthy.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they've almost gone, okay, we need like an edgy relationship thing to market to teens and stuff. And the thing is, we're talking about the person that almost murdered her purely because she gave him what he wanted, and that's Batman on a plate. This is also the same person that didn't realize she was gone for a year and shot her to the goddamn moon. I think
That's why I think Batman the Animated Series, I think that portrays their toxic relationship the best.
Yeah,
definitely.
well, it literally created the character, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it brought the breath of fresh air to the character of Joker to have this obsessed person with him. You know, that's what another thing I didn't quite like about that relationship in the current film universe is Joker infatuated with her? No, it should be the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Because the way I look at it is that he doesn't care about her.
No.
He uses her when she's useful, and then he'll just toss her out.
Yeah, she was basically just the best way of getting out of Arkham Asylum in that situation.
And that's exactly why I had such a issue with Suicide Squad when they didn't use the chance, which was when he's then tracking her and everything like that, like, where is she? I thought, oh, this is building up to him, like, using her just to get to the Suicide Squad or Amanda Waller. That's brilliant. So when he, when he goes to the lab to, like, about the tracker things, I thought, oh, brilliant. He's infiltrated, like, their tracker things. He's going to use it against them or something. So either he's going to be like, you can't blow them up. I'm going to use them as my own minions to kill you or whatever. Or something else. I'm just going to kill them all if you don't do what I say. Whatever. But the fact he just used it to find Harley and just switches off or whatever was silly. But the fact that they missed the vital opportunity for her to be like, oh, you saved me because you love me. He's like, no, I didn't. I just saved you because I wanted to get to Amanda Waller, or I wanted to, get to Enchantress or whatever.
What's even funnier now is looking at it and going, oh, so you're not going to teach impressionable teens about abusive relationships, but Joaquin Phoenix is the devil because he's ill.
Yeah. And also, when you look at the character of Harley in the comics, which this is mimicking a bit as well, she does seem to have become... They try to paint her as so many aspects of this character. Like, oh, she symbolizes bisexuality. She symbolizes, female power, but then she symbolizes villains, but then she symbolizes heroes. She's on the Suicide Squad, but then she's also, like, a part of, like, other hero groups. She rollerblades. She has a hyena. She has this. She has that. And I'm like, they try to make her symbolize too many things.
I think they tried to do what they done with the Joker, and that's make her versatile.
Yeah.
But didn't realize that because they were trying so hard to make her versatile, they've just kind of gone, throw everything and the kitchen sink at her, and
the
it'll
problem
work.
is they're slowly just making her she's just a female
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah, basically.
Which basically robs her of any more autonomy, which obviously when we're talking about, like, partner in a domestic abusive relationship is even more problematic.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have a problem with the title of this next movie, Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
This is a Harley Quinn film. Like, who are you kidding here?
Yeah.
But I don't think... I'm excited for Birds of Prey, but I don't think she might not be as strong enough to hold a complete movie on her own.
Yeah.
I do think she needs this supporting cast around her to make it a bit more interesting.
I think the best thing for that film to do is actually as well have at the end, I can see watching the trailer, I sort of enjoyed it and thought, okay, I can see how you could make this work if you have Harley bring these characters together and have one, make the Birds of Prey appealing because Harley's there, but two, make Harley appealing because the Birds of Prey are there, so making it vice versa. So I would like the end of that film to sort of her be like, looking at Huntress and Black Canary and all these characters and going sort of like, oh, I'm glad you sort of like had fun, and she walks away and then the Birds of Prey are formed. I think that would be the best way to leave it, rather than like, now Harley Quinn's going to lead the Birds of Prey. I think that would be the wrong way to do it.
Harley Quinn and Friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
So,
my instant reaction to that trailer was just, I'm interested.
That's basically what I have.
I'm interested in Ewan McGregor, and that's it.
He looks great.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, great, another like a villain we haven't seen on screen before and is getting airtime. Whereas,
Except it's Black Mask without the mask.
Yeah.
what about other any other ones that stand out to you? The things that have come from the Joker? I know Craig,
Jason Todd.
I think there's two for me, and they're basically very similar in origin. One is Jason Todd, but I'll let you talk more about that. For me, one of my favorite elements is because obviously in the Return of the Joker movie for Batman Beyond, they have like the segment where they sort of feature his death and they show like Joker Jr., essentially what they did to Tim Drake, and that's just one of my it's one of my favorite segments, just because like the way they animate him as well, as they make him so twisted, and it's just like, holy crap, this is what
Quite disturbing. There's some of those images.
Yeah, just the fact that you have that grin in the shadows, and it's just like, ugh. And then obviously you have like the beautifully ironic death where he like at the last minute gets his sanity, shoots a Joker, and you have that.
That's not funny.
That's not funny. Like perfect end line for the Joker. Yeah, that's just one of my favorite stories. But yeah,
Jason Todd, because I mean, it literally pushed Batman to breaking point, which is fantastic. But at the same time, it also created this character, while trained under Batman, has also taken up his own mantle and gone, your way doesn't work. And a lot of the time Batman is never questioned. He's the ultimate authority, and I think sometimes that authority needs to be questioned, and Jason Todd taking up his own mantle of like Red Hood and almost essentially becoming the Punisher is fantastic.
Yeah, I love the story of the animated film Under the Red Hood, or originally the graphic novel, because I love the question that Jason Todd poses. He's like, okay, don't kill anybody, but why not him?
Yeah.
Like, if you could kill anyone, why not him? And he says something like, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's like, is it too hard to cross that line? And then Batman says, no, it's too easy.
Yeah. Any stand out as well to you, Jake, in terms of byproducts of?
Nothing specific. No, I think for me it's more just standalone stories that come out. I mean, for me it's the Killing Joke, is one of the most thought-provoking comics out there. Obviously, Alan Moore, Crazy Warlock.
Yeah, and we said earlier about like that relationship with Batman, the fact they sort of laugh,
Yeah,
together,
exactly. And there's certain things in that book where obviously we know the paralyzation of Barbara Gordon. But it's not shown, but it's really hinted at that the Joker and his gang also raped Jim Gordon. Like, it's when they talk about themes like that, like they have done in this latest Joker movie, that's what intrigues me going forward with the Joker. I love Harley, but I think Harley works best when she's with Mr. J.
I think that about covers it off, guys. Before we sort of wrap up and go to our end game, we'll go to our sort of segment, which we call the Movie Vault. So because the idea of the show is that we're sort of finding good movies or recommended movies to the film god / FG, as we call him. We recommend some movies to go into our movie vault. So this week, based on our conversations, it's going to be a tough one, guys, but, what would you say, based on, like, if there's something to represent the Joker or represent the sort of, like, DC dark aspects, what would you say has to be there for all time to sort of, like, symbolize
Just checking, we're not limiting to just one thing, right?
No, like, last time we had, like, 3 franchises.
So is it specifically around Joker?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
I mean, I think number one...
Suicide Squad, is it?
I think number one for me will be Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the stronger Joker stories, plays into the animated series, which I think is probably the best adapted version of Batman and all his universe, basically. So I think that's number one for me.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree, because it represents the animated series, because one, it then makes it a movie, so you can be like, yeah, you can go in there.
It was released in cinemas.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. And
it's just hardly anyone went to see it.
And I think it gives you the Batman backstory, because like I said, I think my problem with the Tim Burton Batman is, like you said, that they change a bit too many things and it's more of a Joker film, whereas I feel that is the perfect balance, because Joker's there just as the anarchist and the psycho, and Bruce Wayne, you see his backstory just through his relationship with Andrea, and you really understand the character in that, so that's why I would agree with that. What about you guys?
For me, I'm gonna have to say The Man Who Laughs.
Okay.
I believe it's French film, which actually inspired the character of the Joker, and it's a man who is plastered with an unsettling earthly grin on his face and has to deal with life like that, because you can't have one without the other. So I think, like, understanding the history and going as far back as you can for the inspiration is a good thing to always look at.
I think that's a good shout. Although I would also say if we have to put then a live action one in there, my choice would be Dark Knight, just because, like I said, Heath Ledger's performance has made history so much. I think with this Joker film now, it's a bit too early to maybe say, for like, oh, it's, like I said, I agree with you, Kyle, like it's an amazing film and, definitely up there in terms of like, I would understand like your point of view of like, this is my Joker and all that kind of stuff, but I think you need to sort of give it time to sort of like settle out there, whereas I feel that The Dark Knight again is that representation of Batman. It's a fantastic film on its own. It's got so much action and stuff in it. What would you say, Craig?
I mean, I was nearing towards the side more of putting in Joker because obviously, like, that film is the basis of or essentially the film that inspired the majority of the discussion we had today, right? Physically brought us here together. But I understand that perspective of, in order to understand its cultural relevance and how it impacts that, it needs a bit of time to do that. So yeah, I probably would side for Dark Knight because Heath Ledger's performance also just brought the Academy's attention to like more aspects of like comic book films and just got that representation. So yeah, I'd probably say Dark Knight.
And even like elements of like the Joker masks that they wear during that film, you still get an essence of that in the Joker as well, like when they're wearing the
but mask. In no way similar symbolic means, right?
No.
That's just a crime mask. So
yeah.
Could I actually recommend some reading material? Because I think I would say Joker by Brian Azzarello paints a very good picture on who the Joker is and the crime aspects of the Clown Prince of Crime.
Yeah.
And it came out, I believe it came out the same year as The Dark Knight.
Okay.
And I think even though it was done completely separate to The Dark Knight, you look at the art on that and you're like, man, that pretty much looks like Heath's Joker.
Yeah. What was the name of it again? Sorry?
It's just called Joker.
Oh, Joker.
By Brian Azzarello.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cool. Can you remember that?
Yeah. Well, just it's funny when it's like the same title as the film because you probably search it and then all will come up as the film. There was a film out in 2016 which I like came across last night on like iTunes store called The Joker, and it's
it's terrible. It's like a B-rated horror movie.
Is it the one with Ron Perlman? And it's like it's got some guy basically in a scarecrow mask. Which is weird.
So dumb.
It's bizarre. So yeah, going into the movie vault this week then would be Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, The Man Who Laughs, and The Dark Knight. As usual, we'll now go to our traditional end game, which sees our two guests pitted off against each other. So what better week now to have two Joker experts try and see how well they know the Joker and know his something very iconic of him. I'll hand you over to Craig now to sort of go a bit more into this.
I'm going to be proven as a fraud, I know it.
Tell you the name of the game as well.
Okay, so we've looked at many elements of the Joker this week, but one element we haven't gone into a great detail about is the laugh. So this week we're playing a game called Who's Laughing Now?
We're combining Endgame and Joker in one
God,
picture
that's
here.
Horrifying.
With
You want to know how I got these stones?
So I had never seen that picture before. So the basis of this game is that we've taken various Joker laughs from various films, TV shows, like video games at times, just to see how much you truly know. So there's two things we're looking for. Basically, each round will have a maximum of 2 points. So you get 1 point if you know the name of the actor or voice actor, and you get 1 point if you know the name of where it's from. So if it's a case of the approximate, depending on how much of the approximate will give you points. So first thing I'd like you to do is choose your buzzer, because this will be fastest first. Okay, so Jake, if you could please tell us your sound.
It's kind of like a clown horn. It's
ironic. And then Kyle. Excellent.
It's like a game show thing.
Yeah.
Also appropriate.
Very fitting, yeah.
What's also ironic is when I put your initials down on the score sheet, they go JK. AKA. This was always meant to be, guys.
Okay.
Do I look like a guy with a plan?
Yes.
It's the opposite of last week when we had LK, which just made me think of Lorraine Kelly.
Okay, so like I said, it's fastest first. First clip.
That's Jack Nicholson, Batman 1989.
David?
Correct.
So 2 points to Jake. So that was indeed Jack Nicholson from Batman 1989. I'm very glad you gave me the year as well, because I did not write down the year. I just thought we would naturally assume.
I just always refer to it as that so people know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there are so many other medias called Batman.
Batman,
Yeah,
yeah.
to be fair, for the purpose of our notes, we've put Tim Burton's Batman just to make it a bit easier. But okay, fantastic. So
Kind of reminds me of Spider-Man, which is 2099. It makes it sound
yeah,
like
yeah.
like Batman 1989. It's
Yeah.
like,
which is not a very spectacular year if you think about it.
cool.
Round 2.
Man, that's Hamill. I couldn't tell you what from or which one, but it's Hamill.
Okay. So that is Hamill. I'll give, before you show the...
I was already doing it. Sorry.
For future reference, in the event that someone gets one but not the other, I'll give the other person a chance.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you just wanted to gloat about what scene it was in without
No,
showing the image.
no. So that was the infamous laugh from Mask of the Phantasm. So yeah, but that was Mark Hamill. So 1 point to Kyle. Excellent. Round number 3. Kyle.
Oh man, my brain's just gone dead on me. Is it Dark Knight Returns Part 2? But I had no idea on voice actor.
David? Correct. It is Dark Knight Part 2.
Sick.
So, for a chance for a point, Jake, do you know who the voice actor for the Joker was?
I did, but not now.
Oh, that's always helpful.
I thought you were about to get it up in your notes. I was going to be like, God damn it.
You literally beat me by 1 second because I knew it was Dark Knight Returns, but for the life of me, I can't remember the voice actor's name.
I thought you were going to get there quicker because obviously we talked about the scene, because that is the laugh from the scene where he does break his own
break
neck.
his neck, yeah.
So the actor for that scene was Michael Emerson. So you might also know him as one of the lead villains in series 2 and 3 of Lost. I think that's his most notable role to date.
Oh yeah, now I recognise his face.
Yeah. Okay, so after 3 rounds, we're currently tied with 2 points apiece. Number 4. Jake.
That is Cesar Romero
Yep.
from Batman the Movie, 1966.
Okay, David? Yep.
God damn it.
So what's interesting is that we don't actually know if it's from the movie or the TV show.
So he gets 1 point.
Well, no, we'll give him the 2 points. We'll give him the benefit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Basically, we got it from a clip compilation. So we just know that it's from the... I forgot there was a movie, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's true.
It's great.
This show is out to do me
the
over.
exploding shark, man.
Yeah.
So- okay, so let's move on to number 5. Oh, wait, and obviously here's the picture.
He's dressed in a very similar outfit there, actually, isn't he?
Yeah.
In the real actor.
I think if you showed 2 people who had no idea who the Joker was and said one of these is called the Joker, they would have a difficult time guessing. Well, the one is in clown makeup, but the other's wearing an incredibly frilly shirt. Number 5.
So, I don't know the name of the actor, but is it Under the Red Hood?
It is Under the Red Hood.
See, I thought it was going to be like the Brave and the Bold series for a moment.
Did you?
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you're thinking about those sort of roles as well. So, but you have a choice. You have a chance now because obviously you don't know the actor. Do you know who the actor is?
Nope. I
Okay.
told you I'm going to be made to look like a fraud.
Okay. So the voice actor for Under the Red Hood was John DiMaggio, aka you'll know him as Bender from Futurama or Jake the Dog from Adventure Time. He's also had like a string of other like notable voice roles, and he did indeed do the Joker for Under the Red Hood.
I really like his Joker.
I love his Joker. I was going to mention him in terms of like favorite adaptations, but I thought I might spoil too much who might be coming up later in the game.
Yeah.
So, sorry to be sneaky on that one. Okay, so next up we have round 6. Jake.
Mark Hamill, The Killing Joke.
So in terms of voice actor, you are. In terms of media, you are.
Is it Arkham City? The video game.
So yeah, so basically it's from the Arkham games. So I think specifically that one. Yeah, I think that was
When
Arkham.
he's ill, isn't it?
That's the one I found most creepy, to
Yeah.
be honest. I sat here like,
Yeah, that's why you have to give like Mark Hamill a lot of credit for his range because obviously he has to do the Arkham games. But so for that round, you both get a point. And yeah.
There he is, the man himself doing the voice.
Excellent. So after 6 rounds, we have Kyle on 3 and Jake is on 6. Okay, now we go on to number 7. Who do you think that was, Dave?
Oh, I think it was Jake.
That bleep is about to be used a lot more.
I don't know, Craig. What was your? Did you?
I mean, I think it was Jake too.
Should we have them answer both at once? Then?
What?
Should we have an answer both at once?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's fair. So I'm going to give count of 3. So once I go 3, 2, 1, I'll point. If you say exactly the same, then I'll give you both the same amount.
What do you want first?
Do
Movie or
voice
actor?
actor?
No, actor, media.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1.
Ledger of the Dark Knight.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I'll give,
Give us a point each.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to go with the first name. You threw me.
Yeah, I heard you say Ledger, so yeah, we know.
so I think the fairest thing to do in that situation is I'm going to give them both 2 points.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll note that down. Okay, excellent. And of
I'm
course-
impressed by the speed of that one. I think I would have had to have more time to digest that.
Next round, number 8. Kyle.
Is that Mark Hamill but in Killing Joke? I knew it.
I'll give you a chance.
Could I hear the audio again?
Yep.
Man, that is...
It's very Hamill.
It's very Hamill, but I don't know if it is. Like,
Well, I mean, you just said Hamill and we didn't give you any points, right?
Yeah.
So many elements to that one.
No, I know, but that's the thing. My brain
Um,
goes straight to...
I'm trying to think of all the different all the
Yeah.
stuff he's been in now. I'm going to pass on that one now.
Okay, so in that case, the correct answer that was from the cartoon show The Batman.
God damn it!
And that was the voice actor was Kevin Michael Richardson.
I mean, he definitely doesn't look like the Joker.
No, exactly.
Rastafarian with those dreads.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the most un-Joker-like character I think I've seen, but no. So Kevin Michael Richardson's really interesting. So he's also done voice acting such as Captain Gantu from Lilo and Stitch, as well as Principal Lewis from American Dad, and lots of other roles like that. So he does have like a very like powerful, like sort of boomy, but also quite.
It was that cackle, the middle one, the high one that I was like, that's got to be Hamill.
That's the
There seemed like there were a few in there.
Yeah.
As well,
So
which put me
basic-
off.
The problem is we couldn't find many which didn't have the very iconic music of the Batman. So the only site that did was one where there are multiple versions of him all laughing at the same time.
God damn it.
So it was the same character laughing over and over. So in that round, nobody gets any points. We'll now move on to the next clip.
Gotham City.
Do you do it again?
Yeah, that was quite...
Gotham City.
I was tempted to say that.
Yeah,
I was going to
Come
say.
on!
I was going to say
I went to
Lego,
play
but
it again and it skipped along.
I haven't seen that movie, so I was lost on that one.
You haven't seen Lego Batman?
No, I haven't.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
Let's just say you weren't going to get that, guys. You had no idea, did you?
Yeah, I admit I was. Don't think I was. gonna get that.
I was tempted to say it, but I wouldn't have known it was Zach Galifianakis.
okay, so wow, that's the one I spent the most work on as well.
Fair.
All right, okay, so in that round, nobody gets any points, but the correct
Especially
answer,
David.
No.
No. So the
Get
correct answer,
killed.
correct answer was Zach Galifianakis from the Lego Batman movie.
Look at Craig.
Craig's got a point.
So, next one.
So congratulations, whoever doesn't win this quiz, you are not coming last because I'm only getting 1 point. Next round.
So it's Mark Hamill.
Yep.
Now, do I have to... it's the animated series, but do I have to pick a specific episode?
No.
I would say the animated series.
Yep. So.
I was convinced it was Batman Beyond, to be honest. Return
Return of the Joker.
It was anyway.
I can understand that. Like, we have tried to go for a couple of like unconventional choices.
Yeah.
I think the audio quality of that one is.
I think that's what made me just go for, no, I think this is number
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we move on to the next clip. That was definitely.
It's Jared Leto and Suicide Squad.
Do we even need to hear the? No, not that.
David's just a sadist, just trying to torture us with that cackle.
This is where he tells me he is the Joker, and
Yeah.
I'm just the Batman who's tormenting me.
How dare you compare me to that Penny character earlier?
So yeah,
Close
so
to a
in that
penguin.
situation, Kyle gets an extra 2 points.
Oh, gorgeous man.
Yeah, shame about the guy on the left. However, so obviously we've thrown a little bit of shade at Suicide Squad during this. However, I do feel that the character from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Captain Holt, sums it up best for me. So I'd like to hear what he has to say.
Now I know why you refer to this as a Suicide Squad, Peralta, because I already want to kill myself.
What episode is that from? I don't remember that
It's from the season finale of season 6.
Oh my god!
I gotta
that's
check that out
that's
tonight.
Yeah,
Amazing.
they literally create their own Suicide Squad.
Fantastic.
So okay, so at the end of that, so Kyle has 7 points, and the winner is Jake with 10 points. And you also have me with 1 point.
I was so ready for Joaquin to come in at some point. I'm kind of deflated
Yeah.
that he wasn't.
I'm sorry. So yeah, so the result of the end game is that Jake is the winner. Congratulations.
How many points?
With 10 points still.
And now you have to hit your best Joker laugh.
Oh,
My best Joker laugh.
Yeah.
Well,
this
wait
is
until
your victory music. Yeah. Nice. So, yeah, we have a small trophy for you, which I shall get now. So every Joker needs their accomplice, their Harley Quinn. So you get a Lego Harley Quinn.
Love Lego Harley. Look at that. That's going on my
yeah,
desk.
your prize, Lego Harley Quinn from the Lego Batman movie.
Perfect.
Kyle, I got you a consolation prize.
Sick. So I don't-
One of the lesser known villains. You get Calculator.
The calculator.
Oh man, I hate math.
That's why
gonna
you
mock-
get
Why
it.
you have calculator?
Yeah, not only is it going to mock me because I lost, it mocks me because math.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys. Very fun end game there with lots of fun clips of Joker laughs. That is it for today's episode. Like I said, guys, thank you for listening to all our thoughts. Please interact with us on social media. Tell us what you think about the Joker, why he's so iconic. What are your favorite incarnations? And have a check of our review of the Joker on freshtakehub.com, and also Jake's reviews on Film 7 podcast.
Film 7 podcast.
Yeah. So, like I said, any other stuff for you to plug, guys? Where can we find you, Jake?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SweatyJake. But you can find my podcast, Film 7 Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff.
Cool. Kyle.
You can catch me on Instagram at kshaun.thomas, just for all major updates and stuff as I go about the world of film and descent into my own private madness with all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Don't go watching any train crash. clips, though. So thank you guys for joining us. Craig, any closing remarks?
Don't romanticize the Joker and Harley Quinn.
That though. If I actually have to, if this podcast had a moral, it's don't romanticize toxic relationships.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and don't skip ahead too far on your PowerPoint presentations. So thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, you can catch us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Fresh Take Hub. And like I said, you can catch us Well Good Movies. Please subscribe to us on Spotify, follow us on iTunes, review us, rate us. It's all very much appreciated. So thank you guys. It's been a fun one, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good day, guys.
My instant reaction to that trailer was just, eh.